was recently on a clarity call. This person had been doing somatic experiencing and trauma-based therapy for a year or so. And during that whole time, they had not been given information that linked their pattern of behavior back to their upbringing. They were on the phone going, oh my gosh, as I was telling them more about themselves in this little clarity call that we had than they had in a year of weekly intense trauma therapy and somatic experiencing. Now, I get it because I usually am not telling people what their problem is. I'm exploring with the client their individual circumstances. Yet I've worked with enough clients around people-pleasing, perfectionism, codependency, being an empath that ends up in narcissistic relationships. I've worked enough with these people to know that this is what this pattern looks like, and this is what it stems from. And when we get to the root of the issue, then you don't need a year of therapy using multiple therapies to still feel like you need to reach out to another therapist to get more support. I work on helping people get quick results to eliminate the pattern that's causing these things to show up over and over and over again, and to gain the skills and tools to know how to maneuver your life and your relationships. So while I was on the call listening to her, like losing her mind over this, like literally like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I like it just made so much sense to her. It was like I was a mind reader or a psychic and was telling her about her life. And I thought to myself, I think I need to do a video on this. But you don't need 7 years of therapy and still have the problem. So let's talk about it. First of all, most people don't realize that they are people pleasing. This is also called fawning. It doesn't take too many questions in for someone to realize that yes, indeed, they are doing that. This is also called codependency. It's called being an empath. I even came up with a term, sidekick syndrome, where you're never the lead character. You're always supporting other people, and you're not receiving that support in return. Someone else is always the primary focus in your relationships. There's not equality or reciprocity, where you're receiving as well as giving. And the thing about receiving is you actually have to know how to receive. It can be so unnatural, so unfamiliar for people to actually be the one on the receiving end. When they're in a position where they're able to receive, where someone is wanting to give to them, they will find ways to avoid it. They will put it on the back burner. They will manipulate things around so that they're the giver, because that's what is comfortable, yet deep down, they really want to receive. They want people to attune to them the way that they attune to other people, right? People pleasers want people to give to them and show up the way that they do that for other people. But the thing is, they wouldn't even know it when they see it, because they wouldn't even let it happen, because that does not fit with their identity, or at least their subconscious identity of being the giver, of being the good person. And where this stems from, almost always, is from childhood, where there wasn't a caregiver that was consistently attuning to their needs. The term codependent is usually linked to alcoholism, being the partner or a child of alcoholism. But it doesn't have to involve alcohol or any mind-altering substances at all. A lot of very traditional gender roles set up a codependent dynamic where one person has the power, one person is the one that is allowed to have needs and be attuned to, where the other one is the giver, the more subservient one. And how this shows up with children is if you have an erratic parent, whether that's because of substance abuse or not, as a child, two things tend to happen. You either go down that route of being the caregiver for the parent, where you are manipulating the environment so that it won't trigger that parent. So before that parent comes home from work, you are making sure that everything is clean, that there's not going to be anything that might anger them. You might cook for them. You might bring them a drink when they get home. You take on the role of making that parent happy. And you love that parent. You really do. You take on that role of thinking you're responsible for their happiness. So you might entertain them, you might sing, dance, be happy, be smiley, be pleasant and palatable, and not do anything that might disrupt that parent's peace. Now, the other direction that the child might go is to be withdrawn and quiet and to not have any needs at all. Because if you have a need, it can come across as a complaint or something that that parent has to do. And dang it, they just got home and now they need, and I'll teach you, and right? And so in order to avoid that kind of energy, that kind of intense reaction, I'm going to make myself as invisible as possible. And I'm going to make sure that I'm the good kid, that I don't do anything wrong, that I get great grades, because then there won't be anything to trigger that parent. And often perfectionism comes in here. I need to be perfect in order to be accepted, in order to receive attention and love and care from my parent. But that can also look like withdrawing, being quiet, not having any needs, and I'm super capable. I am super capable of taking care of myself. I'm strong, I'm independent, I'm high functioning. And as adults, we become over functioning. We don't realize it, but then what creeps in? What creeps in is chronic fatigue, burnout, depression, anxiety, autoimmune conditions, any number of illnesses, a general sort of dissatisfaction with life. It's like a malaise where they feel disconnected, not only from other people, but from themselves and from life. And they might not identify as depressed, but they feel like they're missing something. They're missing that spark. They're missing something that'll make them feel like life has purpose, that they have some purpose. Nothing really lights them up. Maybe they're children, but for the most part, there's very little that gives them meaning and fulfillment. And why is that? It's because they're living life for other people. They are living life completely for others, not for themselves. And from a young age, they started adjusting who they are, what they do, what they say, based on the reaction that they will get from the adults around them and even the kids around them. If I do this, will I get approval and praise? Or will I be met with anger, hostility, or even just neutralness, not being paid attention to at all, what we would call neglect? So a rebel in this kind of scenario is trying to push the buttons and tear things down. They are challenging the norm. They are an intense truth teller. And the people pleaser goes the opposite direction of conformity. How can I conform? How can I twist and shape and contort myself to be someone who is lovable, to be someone that's accepted, so that I feel that I belong, so that I feel like I have a place in the world, so that I feel like I'm enough, that I'm lovable, so that I can get the validation to feel those things. And there's this sort of hyper vigilance that evolves, where the people pleaser is always aware of the environment around them. They're reading every little nuance, all the nonverbals. Is it safe? Is it safe? What kind of reaction am I getting? Is it a good reaction? Is it a bad reaction? What does that mean? What does that face mean? Are they not interested? Okay, I need to be more entertaining. Let me put on a mask, or I need to withdraw more. I need to not say anything. Oh, I'm making it all about myself. I'm being so selfish. I need to make it about other people, not me. It's not safe for me to be seen. It's not safe for me to be heard, or to have a voice, or to challenge things, or to stand up. That's not safe. That is going to create an environment that is not safe. So this song and dance that you play as a kid then becomes the same song and dance that you play once you're an adult and you're living in the adult world with an adult job and adult relationships. And maybe you have children, and your children become your focus of your outpouring of giving and love. And you might find that your role and identity now evolves around being a parent or a partner. And you give to your family. Yet you're nowhere in the picture. There's no room for you. You don't know who you are anymore. You have completely lost yourself, your sense of identity. Now, in spiritual traditions, it's often interpreted that we don't want to have an identity, that we want to notice where we've created an identity, a idea of who it is we think we are, that we have to rigidly adhere to, and let that go. Yet, if you go deeper into the teachings, you learn that you have to build an identity before you can release it. And a lot of creative types are so open and flowy that they don't have an identity, and it can be very difficult to stand for something or to make decisions about things, because you can see so many points of view and empathize with where each person is at and what each viewpoint is. If you've done any of this kind of identity work where you're destroying your ego, destroying your sense of who you think you are, you may have found some peace for a while, and then that may have been followed by, okay, well, how do I operate in this world without a sense of who I am? How do I interact with other humans and feel a sense of connection if I don't know who I am? How am I supposed to share myself if I don't have a voice? So when you tear down the old identity, or at least the things that don't serve, we don't have to tear everything down and have no ego. We want to have a healthy ego. And once we have eliminated those things that are not serving us as adults, then we come back to choice, because I get to choose my identity now. I get to choose who I am, who I want to be, the kinds of things that I engage in, the things that I like, the things that I need from others in my life, and, drum roll please, my purpose. So many people have come to me over the years saying, I want to know my purpose. I want to know my purpose. I want to know my purpose. And what we do is we work on eliminating the blocks that are keeping them stuck, keeping them from knowing themselves, keep them in this people-pleasing, codependent pattern that keeps them from knowing themselves and their purpose. And living your purpose means living a life of purpose. A life of purpose means living life on purpose, living life intentionally from choice and purpose, rather than being whipped around by the people, the situations that are around us. I'm just getting blown around by the wind. What other people want from me, what other people expect from me, what I think I should be doing. This life that I've built because my parents, school, religion, whatever said this is what I should be doing. I've been doing everything that other people want for me or think is best for me, yet I haven't actually made any decisions that are truly from true choice, what I want for me. And if you want to get spiritual about it, you could say what spirit wants for me. Yet it's my job to get on board with what spirit wants for me, or what God wants for me. Yet that is still a choice. Getting on board and choosing, rather than feeling that it's something that you have to do to appease someone or something else. That's what happens. We know what the side effects are. And some of the side effects are resentment and contempt. On the outside, the people pleaser comes across as very pleasing, nice, sweet, palatable. Yet on the inside, there's a whole nother world going on, much of which is hidden under the surface. They don't even know that they're being resentful. It's often internalized into critical thoughts about oneself. They're white, they're burnout, and they're resentful of everything that they think they have to do, of the ways everyone's taking advantage of them, and they don't see where they're playing into it and giving it away. They think they don't have a choice to say no, to have boundaries. They don't know that. So they don't realize that they're not really a victim in the majority of their circumstances, that that is what is familiar to them and they're creating that. And of course, that's not a life of purpose because they don't feel like they have any power in their life. Okay, what do you do about this? Here you go. You start with, what do you like? What do you actually like? Not something that you started taking an interest in because someone else was interested in it. Check in with yourself, check in with your body. How do you feel when you're doing something or thinking about doing something? Do you really want to do that? Do you really like that? What are your opinions about things in the world? Again, not opinions or beliefs that someone else gave you. What are your perspectives? What do you need? Gotta know what your needs are in order for other people to be able to fulfill them. What do you value? You want your values to be driving your life. Again, what really resonates with you? But most of all, you gotta get unstuck. You gotta get out of this pattern, and that's very hard to do on your own. It's like trying to see the forest through the trees. So you could go to therapy and get to know yourself. All of those things that I talked about, your triggers, the things that cause the anxiety, the closing off, the anger. And like the clients that come to me, you might find that after years of traditional therapy, you know yourself really well, yet you still have these problems. That's where someone like me comes in. We work on the level of the subconscious mind, not the conscious mind. Conscious mind's in there too, but we're focusing on the subconscious mind, which is 90% of who you are and the decisions that you make. It's that part of the iceberg that's underneath the water versus that 10% that's above the water, which is the conscious mind. We want to go into this subconscious mind, the realm of the unknown. You've tried to fix this in the realm of the known, and it's still an issue. How much longer is it going to be an issue? You want to get to the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind includes God consciousness, the universe, the allness of everything, that creative force that's intelligent and knows how to create universes, that knows how to create this body that can regulate itself. It's that unconscious, superconscious field of awareness, the allness of everything that we can now draw our answers from. And ultimately, getting unstuck is bringing you back to choice, where before it didn't feel like you had choice. You felt stuck. I specialize in helping people pleasers and codependents to bust through that programming and have the life and the relationships that they really crave. If you need help, you know where to find me. Have a beautiful day.